This is part three in a conversation while I'm spending a couple days in Alaska for my regular career, which I probably put 60 to 70 hours a week in my regular career. And while on travel, I have a little bit of time uh, to think and ponder and talk about ideas and concepts that are interesting to me. Uh, the city in which I landed in is not the city that I'm currently working in, and that was about a 3 hour drive to get to the city where my work has me for a few days. On the drive here to my Airbnb, I was working through some concepts in my mind regarding uh, work, finance, relationships, and health. And this is part three regarding the entire structure of what I was speaking about. And tonight's conversation is on relationships in the context of work and finance. With that being said, it's important. Um, hmm, with that being said, it's important to track with me because to develop this out and to provide the context will take a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit of time to walk out the concept, and you might be familiar with it, to bring a few different pieces together to give you the greater picture. So if you're after only things that tickle your ear and not challenge your ability to think, to take concepts, think through presented information, and make some correlations, you may not enjoy this conversation because some of the things that I may say tonight may not sit well with you. And I say that because, in all honesty and fairness, parts of it do not sit well with me. So maybe grab a drink or grab your coffee, get a notepad or something, or um, because we're going to have a talk tonight. And when I'm finished, you still may not agree with me, but you'll have something to go back to and something to think through and observe out in the world these thoughts. So, this is part three. If you want part one and part two, just go to the channel and you can see those. And part of that's on the drive when I was coming here. Relationships are a business. And I'll say that one more time. Relationships are a business. Let's take that idea and let's set aside for a moment, because we'll get there. Let's set aside love and look at relationships being a business. And I'm going to prove to you why they are. And as we're doing this, I may even change some of my own thinking on this as I'm hearing myself speak to this very topic. And this is why I say relationships are a business. There's an exchange. I got notes here. There's an exchange of value for goods, services, and benefits. Rob Wilson, hello, sir. There is an exchange of value for goods, services, and benefits. That's why a relationship is a business. So not only do we have an exchange of value, we have customers, we have the company, the provider of goods and services, we have staff, and we have vendors. And all of these are working together in this relationship. In a business, we have profit, we have loss, we have revenue, and we also have expenses. And this is not new. We have our top line revenue and we have the bottom line revenue. In a business, you also have COGS, C-O-G-S, cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold, or the goods can be services as well. So we have COGS. In the relationship, we have cost of goods given. So the business side, we have cost of goods sold, and in the relationship, we have cost of goods given. A relationship lacking love, because we put that to the side for a second, a relationship lacking love is a business. So then, if we're looking at it as a business, there's obligations on both sides, the customer side and the company side. And either you're a customer or you're the company, and those are interchangeable depending upon the specifics of the interaction. And sometimes those lines move back and forth freely. So not only their customers and companies, those are bilaterally interchangeable because you become one or the other in any given moment. We are both, and I'll say we, are both providing the goods and services as a company, or we're receiving the goods and services from the company. So as a customer, we're receiving goods and services from the company. Now, you're a customer, I'm a customer, and we purchase lots of things throughout the week. When we are looking for something specific, we're going to locate a company to provide that product and service. And this is all of this conversational context, it's within the framework of work, finances, relationship, and health. And we're on number 3, talking about finances. or round number 3, talking about relationships. So a customer wants a specific product or service. They identify the customer, or they identify the company. The customer orders and pays for those goods and services. The outcome of that interaction is a happy customer where the product or service met the value exchange of the dollars given, and the company receives a fair value exchange for the products and services sold, cost of goods sold. With there being obligation on both sides, even as a customer, there is obligation on your side. And the way that looks in a relationship is, even though I'm the customer, I am not under any, even as a customer, I am not under any pretense as to having to purchase a specific product or service. So I don't have to purchase what it is you're selling. You don't have to purchase what it is I'm selling. So in the context of a relationship as a business, now we're starting to understand where this train is somewhat going. I'm the customer, I'm not obligated. You're the company, you're not obligated. So we are freely interacting with each other as customer and company, company and customer. Both of those are interchangeable. There is not obligation. We are talking about business as a relationship. We've put love to the side and we put romanticism to the side. And we're just looking at it from a pure business standpoint at this moment. And we'll get to the other side of that when we mix in love. And I think what you'll find is a very deep correlation between customers and providers, service providers, companies. Because we're not, as a customer, one paying for goods and services, I have the value, my dollars, something that you want to receive. You have the value of the dollars as something that I want to receive. That's as a customer, and then obviously as a company, we have goods and services to offer the marketplace. What happens when I, as a customer, am looking for a specific service or product, and I come to your establishment, I order the product, and it is not like what is advertised. Okay? It is not like what is advertised. As a customer, I can say, sir, ma'am, this is what I ordered, but it didn't meet what I received didn't meet my order. Didn't meet my order request. Okay? Are we tracking? I'm sure you can get the picture, and I don't have to beat it up. But that's me as a customer. If I order something and it doesn't, and your delivery does not meet my expectations, I'm within my, I'll use the word lightly, I'm within my right to bring this up directly to you because you're the provider and communicate, this is my order, this is what's delivered. What was delivered didn't meet my expectations based upon your presentation of your products or services. That's like going to a restaurant and they say they have the best steaks in town and that's what you order and their reviews are great and you tell them you want your steak medium rare, but they bring it out well done. The menu doesn't differentiate. The menu does not differentiate the quality of the delivery based on your request. The menu only dictates this specific steak, New York strip or sirloin or ribeye, is $39. That does not dictate if the steak is good or not. What dictates that is if the steak is delivered based upon the customer's request. Okay? How many times are you going to order that steak from that restaurant into the future? $39 steak, that's not, depending on where you go, that's not really out of the ballpark if it's a good steak, but that's not a place like a franchise place that will call it steak, but it's not the best cut. And even in that scenario, if I order a $39 steak and I want it medium rare and it comes out well done, I'm within my right to say, this is not how I ordered it. As the restaurant, you are not in your right to tell me, the customer, that I have to like it that way. I can eat it, but as the restaurant, you cannot tell me I have to like it because you didn't make it to my liking. The value exchange is not worth the value of what I'm offering, $39 for what you've advertised. Take the franchise restaurant. For the $20 steak, and they cook it the way you like it, even though it's not the most pricey cut of meat or the atmosphere is not equivalent to a nicer restaurant, the value exchange met the requirements because the company delivered on your request for what they asked for. And we're talking about relationships as a business, and we're using some different analogies to develop out the ideas and the concepts. So when we're and I'm not a relationship guy. I'm really a guy on a five-year, $1 million plan, 5 years to make $1 million, and relationships are a part of business and finance. Now, the $20 steak and you cook it the way I like it, all right, let's go. And you use some basic seasonings, your salt and pepper, and maybe something else. but you cook it the way I like it, that meets the value exchange. And that's what makes that relationship work as a business, because we know the lines. We know we know the actual delineation points of this interaction. You have provided me with a menu. I chose off the menu. I would like this steak. It says it's $20. I would like it medium rare, and you delivered. On the other hand, at the nicer restaurant, if it's the $39 steak and you cook it well done, even though the cut of meat is better than the $20 steak, the steak is not better because it didn't meet the request. Okay. Now, you could be getting tired of me kind of going around this, but the reason why I am is for when we get to the next part of this conversation. That is, relationship is a business minus the love. Okay. We understand the delineation lines, and we understand the working parameters of our interaction using business. I want something, you have something. I tell you I want what you have, and I give you what I have. And the exchange is equal. What makes that more simple to work through is because we both understand what the dynamics are, and we also understand we are under no obligation to continue down that path. I don't have to take my money, and I use I generally speaking, and continue to frequent your restaurant when you don't serve the steak the way I like it. Okay? And you're under no obligation as a restaurant to continue serving me as a customer if I treat you and your staff badly. And flip that around, you're under no obligation to frequent my restaurant if I don't serve you in the manner that you've requested. Okay? So then, because we're looking at it as a business, we understand that there's lines in the sand, there's lines drawn out that we get to organize a framework within. That makes it easy. If you think of like ultra wealthy people, it is safe to say any relationship that they're in is a business relationship. Even if there's kids involved, it's still a business relationship. Even if there are kids involved, it's still a business relationship. And that's kind of a sidebar for another time that we won't really deep dive into that. Okay, but now if we add this other element to the conversation, this other component in our relationship, and that's love. And And look, that's something that most people desire to have within the relational dynamics and the relational constructs of a level of commitment that one has made to another. A relationship of love, there is still the idea of customer and company, but now we have love mixed in with that. But there's still the idea of love and company, okay? Here's where this could go. Here's where this could go off the rails a little bit, but here's where this could be a little touchy. Because where there's love involved, there is also built in, not all the time, but there's also built in a bypass mechanism to where the value exchange is not equal. There's also a bypass mechanism to where the value exchange is not equal because love can cover the gap in the exchange. So we're kind of leaning into this second part of what we're drilling down on, and we may not get to the end of this because there's really a lot to. I'm not a relationship coach, so I'm just having a conversation. But there's there's a lot to work through, to think through, to ponder, and to see it for what it is. Because a relationship with love, there's still a value exchange of customer and company. And when you add love, there's also the potential for the customer to take advantage of the company or the company to take advantage of the customer. Okay? Understanding? Are you understanding? So let's get back to the restaurant analogy. We're at the $39 restaurant. I order my steak medium rare and you order your steak medium rare. And the restaurant brings out a well done steak. If there is an equivalency of love there, two things could happen. Me as a customer, no problem. I'll eat it. I'm hungry and I don't have time to wait. I'll eat it. Okay, that's a part of showing love. But I would still tell you, ma'am, sir, I ordered my steak medium rare and you brought it out well done. I don't want to be a bother, but I'll still eat it. I just wanted you to know maybe something's going on in the kitchen. Okay. That's where love is covering the gap in the relationship. It's not how I wanted it, but I'm going to bring it up to you, but I'll eat it as it is. The other part of that is the company could say, and the restaurant could say, oh, my apologies. Let me go cook another one. We'll put it in front, to the front of the line, to the front of the cook line, and it's only going to take a few minutes. So from the first order to when you received it, maybe that's 15 or 20 minutes. From when you sat down to plate in front of you, maybe that's 20 minutes. But when there's an error and it's brought up, oh, hey, we'll have another steak cooked for you, and it'll only be out in less than 10 minutes. Okay, so love from the restaurant side. We're going to make this better, and you're going to get it sooner than what you normally would if you just sat down. Me as the customer, I'll just, hey, no worries. I don't want to put you through, any more hassle than you guys look busy in here, and I don't necessarily prefer it this way, but I'll eat it. So love on both sides is covering the gap. If there was not love there, the restaurant could say, our policies are we don't do exchanges. There's a sign on the door that says we don't do exchanges. We don't make things right. And that's worse than a relationship just based on business. Because at least in business, both sides have to perform to the standards set and agreed upon by each other. But the relationship of love, when relationship is a business with love added as an ingredient, the love covers some of the value gaps. But here's where that part can be, you're more apt when there's love to either take advantage of another or be taken advantage of another. I would be taking advantage of you if I brought you a complaint. You're going to correct the error. And on top of that, I ask for a freebie, for something special in addition to the steak that I'm not wanting to pay for, but because you made an error, I want you to correct the error and pay additional. That's me taking advantage of you. Or that's you taking advantage of me. And the other side of that love coin is when I'm in error and I make your steak incorrectly. Hey, I'm going to correct that. I'm going to put your steak next on the grill. You're going to have it in less than 10 minutes. And when I deliver your steak, it looks better. It still has some steam and it's not piping hot, but it still has some steam coming off of it. And along with that, I give you a second steak to take home. That's equally as good. You brought up, I made an error. Great. I say, because I love you and we're in a relationship, I'm going to right the error. And making right the error is when you know it's an error, is love. Adding something in addition to that is showing not more love, but it's showing I want you to know that I care about you. Okay. So as we're talking about these things and we're talking about relationship and we're talking about business lacking love or business with love, what are our safeguards and what can be our not the word isn't boundaries. I'm because safeguards kind of denotes that, but I'm looking for another word and maybe it'll come to me. But what is our posture in that format and in that setup? What are the agreements that we are making with each other? What are the request? So the request, I would like XYZ, that you and I are both making, even if they're not equal. Because businesses don't make the same request. Customers do not have the same request. That's why there's multiple businesses. So when there is love in the relationship, that's more than business. How what should those interactions look like if love is continuously covering the gaps, which then exposes the giver? And this is either way, customer giving you money or company giving you services. But what are the safeguards that prevent one or the other from taking advantage? And if you have an idea, put that in the chat. Say something in the chat. What are some of the safeguards that could prevent each other from taking advantage? In business, there's contracts. I want XYZ, you do XYZ, and I'll pay you ABC, right? That's a contract. In relationships with love, there's more free flowing of information back and forth about ideas and thoughts and processes. And there's not necessarily a contract, so to speak, unless that. So there's not necessarily a contract, but there's always things that fall outside of the norm. There's always things that don't necessarily meet all of the markers, but they're pretty close. Even though it's not a signed contract, we have a call it a gentleman's handshake, a verbal understanding. So then what do we do to prevent ourselves from being taken advantage of? And what do you do to prevent yourself from being taken advantage of? We practice good communication. And we say what we mean to say without the other correcting our language. Back to the restaurant. I tell you, the server, or you tell me I'm the server. $39 restaurant. Hey, I ordered my steak medium rare. And you tell me, well, chef's having a bad night. It's a little overcooked, but it's still good. Just put a little sauce on it. And it's still $39. That would be you taking advantage of me. if I were a weak, if I were a customer who did not like confrontation more than I appreciated transparency and truthfulness and making things correct as possible. Okay. You as a customer could take advantage of me if you order your steak, it's the way you like it, and you say that's not how you wanted the steak, all with the intent of getting a free meal. The steak that's there, that's not how I wanted it. You can't take that back to the kitchen. You know what? Just give me a box and I'll give it to somebody else. That's you taking advantage. That's me taking advantage. So how does all of this tie into work and tie into finances? And you know, initially I thought it was kind of a long shot, but it's definitely not a long shot because relationships are a business on both sides of the fence. When it lacks love, and even when there is love, there's still a business aspect. There's still all the things: top line revenue, bottom line dollars, cost of goods sold, delivery expectations, what what goods and services you're asking for, what benefits are you hoping to receive, and that you hope to accumulate over time. If you and I operate in such a way that, let me see, if we're operating in such a way where it's strict business at a certain point, if the value of the interchange and the rate of return become less than ideal for the effort, why would you as a customer keep coming to my establishment? And why as a customer would I keep visiting your establishment? Do I really believe that if I continue to show up and you continue to not perform as advertised, that the more I show up, that you're going to adjust? No. That's why there are options and opportunities to take your few dollars and try a new establishment. And there are opportunities, me as the company, if I don't like you as a customer because of your behavior, because you're creating an environment that isn't helpful, that makes others around you uncomfortable, me as the company, I can say, hey, you take your dollars and you got to go. Take your dollars, and I don't care where you go. Take your few dollars. I do not care where you go. Because what the dollars you're offering for the service I'm delivering is not equivalent. You want to pay me $8 for a $39 steak, that is the rave of the town in comparison to the value of the chop houses, right? The high-end places. And it's in that level where people don't want the $20 steak, even though it's delivered the way they requested, because they want the cut of meat the way you cook it. So then our obligation, the way we work, and the manner in which we work only is beneficial to both when both are providing an equal value exchange for what the other is offered, even if the offering is not equivalent. Does that make sense? Let's kind of parse that one out just a little bit. Even if the offering is not equivalent, right? Maybe you're just a better chef and you know seasonings a lot better. And you know different beef products, protein better, and you know the cuts of the protein better. And so you know the best ways to prepare that. And you deliver every time, and occasionally you miss the mark. But you delivered what you said you would deliver. Now, me, on the other hand, I may be a $10 steak guy, and I may not have all of the knowledge, but what I do have is my ability to present a lower cost item as if it were 3 times the value. Okay. And that's where love covers the value gap in a relationship where there's business. Love covers the value gap. Otherwise, it's just business. If it becomes just business, at some point, we'll both be tired of eating steak, and we'll want something different. If it's just business, at some point, we'll get tired of the steak and want something different. If, as the company, I know you like steak, but if I say, hey, I know you've had the steak a few times here, have you tried X, Y? Have you tried our braised lamb, our baked, our charbroiled chicken, or our mushroom smothered pork chops, or whatever it is? That is me continuing to deliver on what you requested, but also offering another look. When there's love involved, I think offering another look has the potential to provide a refreshed connection. And I'm not a relationship coach. I'm just talking through some things. But if this is helpful for you, that's great. But I am referring to relationship in the context of work and finance. And at some point, we'll get to part 4, which is health. And they'll all tie back into each other. What if we removed in a relationship as business, if we removed finances, there is no benefit because the structure of the relationship is business, and that means there's benefits. In a relationship where there's love in the business, not only are we receiving benefits of the business, the love part, which in lots of ways it's hard to put a value on that. Okay, then so what happens when there's business but no business without love and no finances or benefits? You just go your separate ways. Hey, this business relationship isn't working anymore. And if the relationship started with love and then it became business, the same could happen. Hey, this relationship doesn't work anymore. You're all familiar with the term, what's that? What is that term? Oh, love ain't enough. Love ain't enough. You're in a relationship and there's love and there's no finances. For an extended period of time, that doesn't work anymore. That relationship will not work anymore. Because the reality is, you can't eat love. While it fills the gaps and it can cover a value gap, over time, that finance part will introduce itself as a pending event leading to a negative outcome. So then what would be a response in that scenario where there's in the relationship there's love but there's no finances? And how long do you continue to frequent that establishment where the future is hard to see the bright side at the end of the tunnel, hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel? I'm not your relationship coach, just talking through some things. And it's the context of relationship is business. And we're setting aside love for a moment, and then we introduce love back into the relationship. And then we introduce love without the finances. Because when it's just business, it's just business. And there's not a whole lot of hard feelings on that. But when there's love involved, it's a different kind of business. In business, lacking love, there's obligations that both sides have agreed to, right? And in your job, you've agreed to an income, and that's the agreement. No matter what it is, that's the agreement. You don't have to like it, but if you agree to it, you agree to it. I think our challenge would be, and we'll look at this the next time, is if either side tendency is to take advantage and not perform any part of the things that we would call obligations. Yeah, so I still got to work this out and I still got to think this through, because the more I talk about it, the more it brings, um, I think, a better rounded view of just how I look about how I consider things and how I look at these types of things. If there was opportunity to introduce not a love in your business relationship, like a heartfelt type thing, but a love in a manner in which, as a customer, that I care enough to make sure you receive what you're asking for. And even if you're my customer, I overlook some of your antics towards me as a provider, and me as a company, I overlook some of your antics as a customer. I think there's a lot more to kind of unpack in the conversation. I gotta, man, I gotta think this through a little more. Yeah, I gotta figure out how to look at where this is going, and where does it lead to, and either the advantages or the disadvantages of looking at relationship as business versus relationship with love. So, so with that, appreciate you guys jumping on and hanging out for a little bit, and check out a couple of other videos in the channel, and appreciate you guys. Take care.